Well. Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is me again. So, it's an exciting time of the year. It's holiday season. It's creeping in, and this is. I tell you, what a beautiful holiday this is. So far it's been wonderful. I trust that everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and I'm trusting in the fact that everybody will have a marvelous Christmas and most of all, the new year kicking in and everything. And I tell you, it's just been marvelous to say the least. My first thought is with this day and for this season kicking in, and I know some folk have New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff, and you know, I just know that we all have some stuff coming in, and most of us want to be as festive as we've been in time past, but we find that economy situation and the shopping situation, some people are not going to shop because they're unable to, or it's just because they want to keep those bills paid and keep the house, lights on and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna tell you this: either way, whatever it is, if you're breathing and you're above ground, guess what? This is a festive time of the year. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to, and be really, um, you know, just to be, have family, provided they're good family around you, and all that wonderful stuff. But well, let me get off with all of that and come to you today with another Hot Rod special. Today I call this one Off the Hook. Um, I call this one Off the Hook because today I don't have a script in front of me. This is coming off the reel. Okay, so you some say, hey, live shows, something that comes out of nowhere, and it's like, hey, where did that come from? It's something new, it's something different. But no, this may not be something new or different. This may not be something old or ridiculous, to say the least. But it's going to be a show. Um, First of all, I want to put out there some stuff someone was talking to me about. Somebody asked me, and I mean quite a few people had asked me the question. They said, "No, you've been investigating this Michael Jackson thing, and you know some things about it. So why don't you just let the world know? Well, here's the deal. I have spent time with Michael Jackson, back in the day, when I had clearance for the Baltimore Arena. Um, back in the days when he used to come through there, I was the guy with a blue blaze on. you know, and back when the wrestlers used to come to town, all that kind of stuff, and you know how you see the guys with the blue blazers on escorting the wrestlers down the aisle and all that kind of stuff. Well, that was me. But I was also the guy working in the back and seeing a whole lot of everything and anything that was coming through there, basketball players, all this good stuff. So I met quite a few basketball players. I met Abdul-Jabbar. I met, I can just go through the names, Bo, all these guys, basketball players, I met a lot of them, even Magic Johnson and all that stuff. So when I met practically every wrestler that was wrestling during that day. Bruno Sammartino, Pedro Morales, Tony Garea, Rick Martel, Bob Backlund, Andre the Giant. I met these guys. I know these guys. The Rougeau brothers, Rick Steamboat. I've met these guys. I know these guys pretty well. Been around them and all this kind of stuff. And it's really been a cool journey to just be amongst people who are about striving for excellence. And I didn't bring all this up to say, hey, I got a chip. Well, not chip. I got a big, I got a big hunch on my shoulders saying I met these famous people and all this. No, what I want to talk about is this. It's so good to be around people who are interested in rising above the norm and not afraid to go beyond the expected. And I mean, they'll kick down doors, slice somebody's throat to get to where they need to be. Okay, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that as to say, innocent person or nothing like that. I'm talking about some promoters, just sliced it. Well, enough of that. Enough of that. I ain't even going there. I'm gonna leave that alone. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. But I'm gonna leave it alone. But at any rate, now, this Michael Jackson thing, I had at least some people come to me and ask me and say, well, you know much about this Michael Jackson thing. Even some intimate things. And Michael has even told you when you were sitting down there talking to him and stuff like that before some of the shows he came to Baltimore to do with his brothers and all that. You heard some things, some things, you talked to some people surrounding his entourage and all of that. And I said, yes, I have. But that show is yet to come up because here's the deal. I believe the trial part of it is over with. I believe that there's still another portion of this trial still going on, and that's the civil part of it. So my thinking is, and what I want to put out there to some of my friends, some people who have already asked me, well, this is what I will do. I won't talk about it now. I want to wait until the entire business of Michael Jackson's, the trials and whatever else that comes about. I want to make sure all that's off the, is gone to be able to start talking about it. Why? Because I don't want anything I put on the air to offset the civil trial that's coming in the near future. Because it's something when you know some stuff and you have been collaborating with people who are part of this case and whatever. But I want to wait until the do is done, and so to speak, before I start opening my mouth about anything. Because sometimes it's better when you know some stuff. Sometimes there's a time to tell it. And I'm a believer in the word, and you all know this by now. There's a time to cry, a time to live, a time to die, but there's also a time to talk, and there's a time to shut up. Okay, so with all that being said, let me get on with my show today. My show today is about, and like I said, I'm coming off the wall today, I'm coming off the hook today. So today, I want to talk about one major aspect of things in today's world, and I'm open to some ideas, as I've said before, and I've had some ideas come to me via through YouTube and through other entities like Facebook and all of that, and I'll tell you, it's really been a real nice journey so far. Here's where I want to go. I want to talk about our government today. Our government that's in place, and this thing about the what Obama has been doing and all of these other things that are happening. The pulling, and let's really be really grateful for the fact that a million troops will be pulled out. I would give a standing ovation for that, for one reason, because these are people who haven't been around their families, haven't been around their children, haven't seen what's going on in their households and all of that. And I'm glad to hear that Obama has decided to bring a lot of these troops back home, and I believe that was the family portrait of him that's really talking there, because he's a family man himself, and I'm pretty sure there's not a time when he doesn't think about, good God, what would it be for me if I were away from my family, as long as a lot of these troops have been away from theirs. Talk about needless suffering. You understand what I'm saying? For some of these troops, it's liable to make them be kind of off with their, abilities to be able to deal with the situation going on over there. Because over there they needed to, over there in Afghanistan and where they are, where they were over there and with Saddam and all that in Iraq, they really needed to be alert at all times because they never knew when something was going to happen, when something is coming. But let's just say you're out there and one moment just comes up and you can't help but do it, but you're thinking about your son, your daughter, or your wife, and you're thinking about what's going on at home and something else and all that, and all of a sudden something comes and hits you out of the blue and chops your leg off, or blows your leg off, or worse, kills you. I believe a lot of the incidents that had happened over there with a lot of the troops that had gotten killed over there was not the result of, they didn't have good training and all that. You know what it was? I believe the family aspect of things kicked in and they began to think, and they were offset from what was going on around them, and all of a sudden, bam, out of nowhere. And then there's nothing else to think about. I think that haunted our president, who is a family man, and I'll tell you, he is a good family portrait. I've seen him in pictures and news and magazines and all of that. But outside of all of that and the way they dress and all of that, I watch the faces most of all. And those faces tell me that that is a tight-knit family unit, and it's good to have a president in place who believes solely in family values. Congratulations, Obama. I give him my hats off to him for that. And a million troops are coming home who will be looking for work. Um, can I tell you? I hope that each and every one of those troops who are coming home find great jobs. I hope that their training and all that they've had over there, uh, and whatever they had, and I know a lot of them have, got college credit and all this kind of stuff. And they can come home and go to college and do all these wonderful things. I hope that New America will actually come about something that will land them into jobs that will, revolutionize the the American agenda, or I should say the world agenda, because I believe that the greatest way that money can be made in any place, whether it's United States, Africa, and some other foreign land like Asia, and you name the country, wherever, okay, is through new experiences. New experiences. Something, I believe that if we could just change our way of thinking, change the prices on many different things and all of that, because a lot of our retailers today, because they see the situation and how the world is being affected, by government greed. By the way, I'm gonna leave that. I believe that a lot of stuff is costing a lot more. Cars and to rent an apartment is even being jacked up and higher, is because people want to have more money to to you know to live a better life and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like the greed of our government is falling down into the people, and specifically retailers and all these other guys who have surplus and all these other things they have put away, and it seems like the big effect is on these companies, to do things. But what I believe is that I believe this old saying that came out some time ago, and it came out like something like this. Sell low, get a higher return. Because if you try to sell high, you know what happens? You try to sell high, your stuff might sit in the store for a long time before it's sold. But if you sell lower, you'll get a higher quota. Does that make sense? I mean, think about it. I mean, it's, you know, I understand we all have this and that, quotas and all these other things we have to meet. We all have, you know, rents or utilities and all these other things we have to meet and all of that. But what good would it do you if nothing's being traded or if nothing's being sold? If, you know, I've walked into stores and, you know, walked into places where stuff is being sold and I see, and it looks so wonderful on the shelves. Most of the stuff looks so wonderful on the shelves. But I stood there for like 3 hours to see how many times, you know, like at Sears. I was at Sears at White Marsh just recently. And I sit on the bench outside of Sears. And I watch to see how many people will greet that counter to buy something. And do you realize in that 3 hours that I sit there, 8 people walked up to that counter and bought something. And the stuff they bought wasn't all that much, wasn't all that big. Here's my point. Sell low, get a higher return. Because if you really, you know, I mean, because here's the deal. I mean, my thinking is real. I mean, economy has to fit the flow of what people are willing to spend or willing to do. Does that make sense? I mean, because you have to understand, people are really not, some folk are not really you know, apt to be able to go out and buy a screen television at $1,150 because some people can't afford it. But say that same TV was selling for $600, maybe $550. Okay, somebody might say, I'll save up to buy that. I'll go and buy that thing because, hey, I kind of like having something like that in my home, you know. But at $1,135, $1,132, I ain't about to even try to buy that thing. And you know, you never know. And that's, you think about it, you get a few sales out of that, but not much. Not much. So if you want to see an economy really turn around, sell low, get a higher return. The reason why I brought up the situation with with our president and how he's pulling out 1 million troops from Iraq, okay, that's what I'm talking about. And that was the idea I believe our president had in mind. Sell low, get a higher return. Do you understand? He pulled 1 million troops out. Sell low, get a higher return. And President Obama is the biggest store owner so far. I believe America should use some of the various things that Obama is really doing. I believe God himself has appointed Obama to be where he is right now. I believe it. I believe it. He is, to me, Obama is modern day Joseph. If any of you remember the story of Joseph and how he fell into the pit and his brothers attempted to kill him and sell him into slavery, and you know, the situation came down to a science where he was actually lifted out of that pit and shipped off to Egypt to be a slave. And if you remember, he wound up being second in command to the Pharaoh. You will recall that. Now, here's the deal. He says, now, he told him, he says, I'm going to put you in charge. He says, only my throne is higher than you. He says, you can touch anything, but don't touch my throne. You know, in other words, don't touch my wife. You know, and if you remember his wife, after Pharaoh's wife actually tried to bait him in, tried to get a hold of him, but Joseph wasn't selling out for that. You understand what I'm saying? Here's my point. We have a president in place. And like some presidents who have already sold out, you know, like you have Clinton with the Monica Lewinsky, and you have, God knows, you have Bush, and God knows, I don't know whether he ever sold out on his wife, you know, whatever, but I doubt if he has. But this, maybe he was too old and didn't want to, well, yeah, I mean, you know, regardless of the fact. You know, I believe in Obama, and I don't believe he will ever sell out on anything. I believe he's interested in turning this thing around. And I like the idea of dealing with someone whom God is by his side and working things out. You know, and that's much better. That's much better. That's much better. Like I said, I'm off the hook today. But anyway, what else did I come to say? I was going to talk about government greed and some of the various things I had witnessed. I haven't gone to D.C. and gone to other parts in like New York and other places like that, and I've been to those areas recently, and having seen some of the greed and some of the things, some of the deals that were being made, some of the things that were happening, and all that kind of stuff concerning government and the promises that were being made. You know, and how it is that when the government didn't own up to the promises that they had promised them in the lobbies, and the companies decided to move elsewhere. I was going to talk about all that, but I'm going to leave all that alone. I'm not even going to talk about that right now, because that's another story. This is Rodney with another Hot Rod special. You guys have a grand of a day. And I'm going to be back online before Christmas. So, you know, all I'm going to say is throughout the next, you know, few shows up until past January 1st, I'm going to bid everyone happy holidays. I'm out.